Please rise, pledge, and we're going to do a moment of silent laughter. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing, please. Join me in a moment of silent memory of Town Highway Department employee and volunteer fireman James Dotter. James passed away tragically on Sunday, and the thoughts and prayers of the town of Fishkill are with his family during this difficult time, especially his 3-year-old son, Henry. Okay, thank you very much. Please be seated.
Present.
Councilmember Israel.
Present.
Supervisor Albert.
Here.
Councilmember Foreman.
Here.
Councilmember Rye.
Here.
Next up, adoption of agenda. Presented a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, acceptance of minutes, Town Board regular meeting, July 20th. Presented as a motion. Can I get a second?
Here. Second.
Foreman, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up is privilege of the floor for general town items. Anybody that wishes to speak about anything related to the town of Fishkill may do so now. Mr. Cologne?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Eric Colon. Most of you know me. And for those who don't, I moved to the Fishkill in 2009, and I lived in Old Post Mall for plus 11 years plus. Having been a victim of a robbery several years ago, the frustration that went along with that experience was difficult. I wanted to be saved and my community to be saved. Moving forward, I wanted to assure that this will not happen to anyone else. Our neighbors watch out for each other. This is how this community is like. I had an idea to spread the safety in this complex. I talked to a lot of people. Teaming up with Lieutenant Woods was a perfect fit. After much hard work and effort, and with the help of the Community Safety Forum, it's now a reality. Most of you have a flyer in front of you. It will take place Saturday, September 10th at 10 a.m. at the Village Hall on Main Street. Lieutenant Wood will have all the information and presentation on safety, including telephone scams, door-to-door scams, insurance and tax scams, car burglaries, crime and prevention tips. I would like to thank Lieutenant Wood, Supervisor Abra, Councilman Foreman, the Village Mayor Kathy Martin, and the town, both town, village, and police departments. Also, the Duchess Beer Cafe will be providing light refreshment, so take advantage of it. So thank you for your support. Thank you all for working with me in this and bringing to our residents. The event is very important. And for me and the safety to all our residents and the community, please take the time to come out and support us. That's what I have to say, and I wish we could put it out there. I know we have worked, we have met before, and I think it's good. We could do, and I think it's going to be a great turnout. So I just hope that I can buy more than I can shoot. So okay. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Cologne.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? This gentleman first. He was here earlier. Just say who you are and what you're here for.
My name is Joseph Langen. I'm a builder and developer. I'm here on behalf of Hudson Valley Development. The project is known as CubeSmart on Route 52. I was asked to appear. I understand there's some violations that need to be rectified, property maintenance and so forth, and our intent is to restart the project and get it built. So, if you have any questions.
Are you the current owner?
I am not.
Oh, okay.
I'm an investor. in the project.
Any other board members with any questions? So basically what happened in one of the last meetings, Mr. Fagguri came to the meeting and talked about the project a little bit. So what I plan on doing is scheduling a public hearing regarding this, and I'm going to continue it to give you guys some time to show some meaningful changes. And if that's happening, I'll keep continuing those meetings. But if I see something not coming to fruition, then we're going to act on it and vote on it. So I just want to let you know up front what we're going to do.
I understand.
Okay?
Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks.
All right. Give me one. Yeah, the facade, I'll tell you about it a little later. Anybody else? Russ? I'm sorry.
Good evening, Supervisor Albert. Good evening, town board members. I attended the last comprehensive plan meeting, and there was much discussion about saving open spaces, more parkland, and the Fishkill Rail Trail. I am not sure to what extent they may be involved, but if New York State is involved with acquiring and developing rail trail properties, could not the state acquire, whether by purchase or eminent domain, the vacant Route 52 property to use for rail trail parking and maybe a bulletin board kiosk displaying Fishkill natural history and Fishkill history in general, photos, maps, nature observations? It would benefit the town, the county, and the state, and preserve that piece of property rather than some ill-fitting business development. Thank you.
Okay. Ann?
Hello, Ann Lagoy, resident. I'm here in the capacity as president of Stray Help, and I just wanted to give you an update on the program that you had voted on and approved, and we started that last month. So we have already gone through, well, we residents, town residents, have already bought more than half of the available vouchers. So that's in a month, and that's with the town, sending out an email just a week ago. So we have 14 cats that are scheduled to our clinic tomorrow. So it is a hugely successful program. So I am here to ask for more money. I really strongly feel that this is just a toe in the water, and it's a very deep water indeed. There are municipal grants that are available. I do not have access to those grants, but if you have a grant writer, it may be something that the town can look into. I just got an email from Marcus Molinaro's office giving away, providing $4.6 million to Dutchess County. This is definitely a community issue. In fact, the comprehensive plan had the survey, of course, as you know. Just as many people expressed concern about animals that they did about bringing new business into Fishkill. So that really should share with you, the feeling of the residents here. I probably sound very, very subdued. It has been a brutal and exhausting season. We are finding cats all over the place that have been either abandoned. So I really, as you know, very passionately feel about this to get more money and provide residents assistance. I think that it would be a good idea to explore this municipal grant opportunity. I actually do have some comments about the floor agenda items. However, I'll write those to you because I need to go. We have 82 cats scheduled for our clinic tomorrow. So that's going to be a very, very busy day. But I wanted to share with you and thank you again for approving this unanimously. I think it really shows that everyone here is concerned to meet the needs of the community. And this is, you've actually spearheaded for the county, because now I'm going to be making a presentation in the town of Wappingers. I'm hoping that they also adopt this program. The county, I hope they catch up, because this is really desperately needed. And, I think Becky would attest to the fact that, we've been giving the vouchers, selling the vouchers for less than a month, and we've already sold more than half. So, and people's faces are just beaming when they come to the to the shuttle. Well, actually, before I go, I am going to share this story with you. So a woman arrived at our last clinic with one male and one female cat that she had rescued off the street, and she said she had her 2 certificates, and as far as I'm concerned, that is a crisis averted, because and these cats were maybe 5 months old, so in another month, we would have had kittens. So it really is a valuable service, and I appreciate it, and I thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Thank you, Ann.
Kenya?
Good evening, Madam Clerk. I didn't get to greet you at the door because you were talking, so I just wanted to say hi. Town board members and supervisor, thanks for having me. My name is Kenya Gadsden. I just wanted to review some information that was shared that needs some clarification. So at the June Town Board meeting, item number 7857 was discussed related to town switching insurance providers. I am in agreement with switching providers to give an opportunity to local Fishkill insurance carriers, but I am not in agreement with the lack of process. Although an RFP does not have to go out, the business should have, in my opinion, been offered to any insurance carrier that met the qualifications of what we needed. Were negotiations for a lower cost negotiated? Did we get premium discounts? The answers to these questions are no. According to Councilmember Foreman, the town continues to pay the same premiums, but my issue is we now pay it to his friend. Any insurance carrier in Fishkill should have had the opportunity, but that did not happen. 2 other council members questioned the transaction, Councilmember Isvan and Councilwoman Daniele, and yet the vote went through with 4 members of the town board voting yes. Don't you think Councilmember Foreman should have recused himself, since it is my understanding that the new carrier is his friend? I will leave those present and those at home to ponder this matter. At the July meeting, item number 7950 was on the agenda to approve counsel on appeal for the supervisor. This means to continue to pay the legal bills incurred by the supervisor since he was being sued in his capacity as supervisor. I want to thank this town board for doing what was right, so thank you. It is clear to me that the town board members must have received sound advice from their attorney, as myself and those that served with me received sound advice from Brian Nugent on this same matter, which led to me voting yes to reimbursing the supervisor his legal fees. It is my hope that the town board members will take back the negative comments and rectify the misconceptions that were spread throughout the town as it relates to those elected officials that took to the podium with inaccuracies. I will leave this with the people to ponder as well. Lastly, Councilmember Foreman provided his take on the recent raises that he has voted yes for. I believe all but 1 member of this town has not received a raise recently. I believe that those that advocated for raises due to circumstances and lack of raises may have deserved them. The process is to meet with the supervisor prior to the budget and request the needs of your department. This would include raises and/or increases and maybe purchases of items. The supervisor then presents his budget to the town board members, and each council person reviews the proposed budget. If the town board members does not agree with the budget, raises, or other items, they follow the process to address it. The budget this year was adopted by the current board members, so the false information provided by Councilmember Foreman at the last meeting needs to be corrected. He voted along with others to adopt the budget as presented by the supervisor. They had 3 votes and it passed. The previous town board members have no control over the presentation and approval of raises brought before the current town board. Once again, Councilmember Foreman has provided the residents of Fishkill, in my opinion, with inaccurate information. See last meeting video during board comments. The raises given this year outside of the budget season that caused transfers is not the fault of the previous town board, but the actions of those who currently serve and said yes to the raises. I am not against the raises, but I am against misrepresentation of information. Process is important. When not followed and you see who lacks transparency, one would wonder if the rumors are true. Does all of the town board members live, reside, and sleep in our town? Is the new car a result of our insurance carriers changing hands? Is the next step raises for the town board, as stated on social media when the board changed over? I will leave the citizens of Fishkill with pondering these questions as I continue to ponder them myself. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kenya.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. I have no comments. We'll go straight to our new item that we put here, introduction of new town employees. Any new employee here today? Well, you're an appointee, Mr. Restivo, so come up and say hello and why you want to be a town historian and what your plans are as historian.
Well, you know, I have a passion for history, and it really started about 48 years ago when I took the class, the history class, with Mr. Andrew Lutz at Roundout Valley. And I remember he used to take the New York Times, and he would arbitrarily pick an article at the first few pages, and then we'd go back anywhere from 10, 15, 20, 100 years to figure out how did we get to that point. And it really showed me how important history is and how it affects our lives today and in the future. I mean, here in the town of Fishkill, we have, you know, we are the home of the Central Depot supply that actually provided armor and food for over 4,000 troops that defended the Hudson Valley from the British taking it over, because that was what their objective was in the beginning of the Revolutionary War. And that's one of our best assets that we have. And I think that as a town historian, what I'd like to do is I'd like to promote that. I'd like to promote and preserve that history because it's one of our best assets. I don't know if you have any questions or anything you might ask.
Any board members?
You know, Arnold, how you doing, buddy?
Yes, good.
You and I met and talked a couple of times, and we've known each other for years. This is a whole side of you I knew nothing about, and it's rather impressive. And I know when we sat and talked, you have like a million ideas, so I'm proud of you restraining yourself tonight. But, but I know you have a lot of energy. It's a volunteer thing, and I just want to say thank you for stepping up, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future and working with you.
John, anything?
Nope.
Carmine?
Arnold, like I said, when we met and we discussed and talked, and I connected you with the Fishkill Town Historical Society. That's very important to make sure that collectively we're on the same page, working together with our town historian. Also reaching out to other town historians to see what they do, what they work on. Educational part of this is very important, and learn, and learn.
Louise?
So I don't know you for years, but I've met you once or twice, and you've expressed interest in doing this. So it is not a volunteer position. I believe it's a $4,000 stipend. Not that that matters. Pennies. What is it? Sharon, has it changed? 2,500? Okay, I thought it was.
Oh,
I stand corrected. Yeah, just a stipend. But I look forward to you, you know, working and helping the town, because not a lot of people want to step forward and do things. And since you have the background and the experience, I think it's going to be beneficial for our town. So thank you.
Yeah, if you come to my house, you'll see that I have over 700 books in all on history. No fiction, because I mean, history is very important. I mean, we relive it. And that's the beauty. I mean, we have such a great asset. And like I've mentioned in the past, that for every 100 jobs that are generated by tourism, you know, it brings 61 additional jobs, you know, for auxiliary services. So that's why history is very important for the town of Fishkill.
I couldn't agree any more than that. We discussed, you were also involved with the Roundabout Rural Cemetery.
Yes.
The monument for Lafayette is right in the front. Any suggestions of how do we get that, a focus on that?
Well, I reached out to Stephen Lynch back, I think about a month, 2 months ago, because I was thinking if we could find some sort of historical or significant date. But then again, General Lafayette was here over a period of time, and so there really wasn't any one particular date except just the activities that he was involved in when it was here in the Hudson Valley. But that if we were able to pinpoint a month or a date or an event, then, I mean, the best thing to do is really to have, or invite like the ambassador for France to come to speak, to actually do this as a way, and in that event, of course, showcase our other historical sites, like the Trinity Church. You know, they have many Revolutionary Wars, the Fishkill Depot, the Van Wyck. You've got all these different groups that we can come together that we can actually showcase and promote at the same time.
That's good. I was thinking more like curb appeal. Because if you look through that, it just looks like a cemetery stone, and it's not. How do we let the average person see that that's something that they can come pay their respects to?
Outside of just, you mean decorating as far as landscaping?
Decorating it, maybe some steps, some flowers, I don't know. I'm open to suggestion.
It could be done, but I know that the cemetery, like most cemeteries or smaller cemeteries, even though it's a 501c13, that they are limited in funds, because the Division of Cemeteries requires that the cemetery has to have a minimum of $10,000 in the perpetual care fund. And so the balance of the monies that are used for, let's say, regular care, such as cutting the grass and so on and so forth, has to come from monies generated. So the only way to really be able to afford something like that is either through getting people to volunteer to services and materials, or to fundraise for it.
Supervisor?
Yes.
We do have a garden club. We could ask Kathy if she's interested.
Yeah, we have a garden club. Listen, if it's a couple $1,000s to do something, I can bring it to the fellow board members and see if we can allocate it. So, you know, we've got the Brickeroff House, you've got the cemetery, you got the Lafayette Sword, you got a real Fishkill Tea Party there, you got the Chief Nimem statue, you got a new firehouse going on there. This gentleman came here, is going to make a business proposal to clean up that area across the street. So that area is going to be a real nice focus for the residents of the town of Fishkill and be a historical attraction in the near future. And I think that the Lafayette Monument is just, it's beautiful, but it just looks like a regular cemetery stone. And if we can draw the attention, and it's not that, it's actually Lafayette for Lafayette, I'd like to see that.
Well, I know some of the improvements made, such as the, there was a reflecting bench in the back up on, by the Brinkerhoff property line, and then of course you've got the kiosk in the front. That was done by the Boy Scouts. One of the board members, one of the trustees on the cemetery is the troop leader. I mean, so we could also pull upon them. But again, it all has to do with, with what would work best. Maybe even a reflecting bench or something, but it is a very high-trafficked area.
Okay.
And one of the issues we're also trying to address is we got that dead tree that's just within falling distance of that location that we're trying to see if there's a way to, take care of that.
Gotcha. And the other thing that we have looked forward to is the 250th anniversary of the Revolution. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that later. Does the town form a committee? How do we go about this? So
I already
you got
wrote down
the
some ideas.
two things I want to see done are those two things. Those are my priorities. Anybody else?
We have hopefully a really great project for that, but we've got some background work to do first before we get into discussing it. Just a last thing, and I know we've got a lot of things to talk about, but I was really happy to hear about how you intend to encourage and have encouraged kids, high school kids, to get involved, and that's just really going to be pretty special if you can do that. So just wanted to make that observation.
Well, one of the things I'll do is reach out to the superintendent of schools for Wappingers, because I know he expressed interest in it, and I think it's a great idea to actually get those kids, because I think that if I didn't have the opportunity, if I didn't have Mr. Andy Lutz as my social studies teacher, I mean, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. I know Dr. Bonk, he's great, and he's already going to incorporate some sort of educational programs on NIMHAM, so this is a natural tie-in, to take it a step further, so that's great.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up will be audited town of Fishkill financial statements. Mr. Zimmerman?
Did you skip the liaison reports?
I'm sorry, Louise?
Liaison reports?
I couldn't hear you. What?
Liaison reports?
Did I miss that? May I miss that?
Yes.
Oh, we'll do that after.
Okay.
Mr. Zimmerman, go on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Zimmerman, a partner with the EFPR Group, and here to present the results of the audit of the town's financial statements. The town works on a calendar year basis, so this is the audit for the year ended December 31st of 2021. We issue 4 reports in connection with that engagement. There's the actual financial statements of the town. There are financial statements for the town justice court. That's a requirement. There's a required communication between an audit firm and the governing body, in this case the town board, and that is a report to the board, and that was a clean report. And then the last item that we issued was what we call a management letter, which is an opportunity to point out any type of concerns or weaknesses. I'm happy to report back that that was not the case. There's only one comment in there, and it has to do with a new accounting standard that the town will have to follow for the 22 fiscal year, having to do with how leases are recorded, GASB 87. So we just made the town aware of that. We've been in conversation with that, but it is a big undertaking. We want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. The financial statements have been, we have issued what's called an unmodified or a clean opinion. There are no exceptions noted in the preparation of the underlying accounting records that deviate from generally accepted accounting principles. Excuse me. We, as part of the conclusion of the engagement, we reviewed the results with management and the accounting personnel. Certainly, everyone was very cooperative. We had outstanding cooperation. We received all the information we needed. Typically, we begin the audit in February, and we issued the financial statements in May. With regards to the details on the numbers, there's actually two sets of financials embedded within these. There is the full accrual or town-wide financials, and then our fund financial statements. So on the full accrual side, which includes all of your capital assets on all the underlying debts of the town, you have ending net position or fund balance of $26.2 million as of December 31st of 2021, and that was an increase of $4.7 million from 2020. Revenue was just over $20 million, and that was an increase of $2.9 million from 2020. Excuse me, 2020. There was a $3 million New York State Environmental Facilities grant that was received in the capital fund, so that certainly added to the revenue side, and that was utilized for water infrastructure improvements. And there was a decrease in state aid that was received related to mortgage taxes. On the expense side, expenses were $15.6 million, and that was a minor increase from the prior year of $110,000. And so a large part of that increase was related to water and sewer costs. One of the unique things that you would see in this is that that grant for $3 million comes in, but the associated costs related to that grant are capitalized as part of your capital assets. So you see the revenue, but you don't see a corresponding expense item. With regards to the governmental funds or the fund financial statements, we, on the bottom of the page that I provided you, give a breakdown of the various fund balances. Most people will focus on the general fund. That's where your property taxes are being received. You certainly have a healthy fund balance. It was an increase of $618,000 from 2020 to an ending balance of $5.4 million. And then we list the other specific funds. Town outside of the village was just over $5 million. The special districts was $4 million. The capital projects has a deficit of 1.7, but that is related to the timing of bonding, so that is certainly nothing that the town board would need to be concerned with. And speaking of bonding, in light of the sound financial condition, there was an upgrade that Moody's had provided you back in February of 2020. They upgraded your debt from AA2 to AA1, so certainly that's something that the town should take comfort in, that outside rating agencies are seeing the strong financial position of the town.
Is that like a strong AA1? I mean, how strong? It's an upgrade, but is it, we barely make it, or how far into?
I mean, I don't personally get involved in bond rating, so I couldn't tell you exactly what triggered their upgrade of that. That would be something more for bond counsel or your outside bond consultants that could give you a rundown of what caused them to give you that notch upgrade from AA2 to AA1. But it certainly, that's what you want to be, is in the right direction where you're being upgraded as opposed to downgraded. And certainly, we deal with 175 governments across New York State, and everybody is not in that same boat. I do have clients that are getting downgraded, so it's certainly a testament to the strong oversight and strong financial management that the town has. Just some highlights with regards to some of the numbers, and this is on the second page of the handout I provided you. The general fund, which is obviously what most people focus in on, that saw an increase in its fund balance of $619,000. It actually had an increase of $1.1 million in 2020, but still a positive increase of $619 in the current year. Revenue was $4.4 million. That was decreased by $481,000 from 2020, and that was decreased primarily related to a decrease in property taxes and state aid related to mortgage taxes. Expenditures were very consistent at $3.7 million. Outside, the town outside the village saw an increase of $584,000 in fund balance in the current year, and that was $120,000 less than the increase that had occurred in 2020. Revenue was $4.4 million, and that was an increase of $164,000 over the prior year, and that again was due to increase in property taxes and licensing and permits. Expenditures had increased $283,000 to $3.8 million. And that was primarily related to some equipment purchases and increase in personnel costs and related benefits. The special districts actually saw a decrease in the fund balance of $228,000, which was a $501,000 swing from 2020 when there was an increase of $282,000. Revenue increased by a minor amount of $26,000 to $4.4, and that was due to some minor increases in the assessments levied for assessments levy offset by a decrease in water and sewer charges. Expenditures had increased $557,000 to $4.7 million, and that was from increased sewer services and water purchases. The capital project fund saw an increase of $260,000 in its fund balance, and as I mentioned, there was a $3 million increase in the revenue up to $3 million, and again, that was the capital grant that I had mentioned from Environmental Facilities Corporation. The expenditures had decreased $2.4 million down to $483,000. And then finally, the highway fund saw an increase of $281,000 its fund balance, which was $641,000 more than the decrease that had happened in 2020 of $260,000. Revenue had increased $171,000 to $3.8 million, while expenditures had decreased by $470,000 to $3.5. So again, it's a very good financial picture for the town. You're in strong financial condition. We had excellent cooperation when we did the audit, and everything went according to our audit plan. When we start an audit in our pre-planning phase, we develop a plan of how the audit should unfold, and we're happy certainly to report back that there were no deviations from that, and there was nothing that we detected that caused any concern from our point of view. And I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Brian?
I'm good.
John?
I'm good.
Carmen?
Thank you.
Louise?
I had questions, but Sharon was nice enough to answer them when I called her today. But one of them was just, you already addressed it. It was when I see fund deficit, I get a little nervous where it says deficit of $1.7 million. But then she explained that that was because of the Beacon Hills water, the whole project that we're waiting for everything
Yes,
to
and
go
that's
through.
what the capital project fund can
Right.
deviate dramatically
I just see
based on that.
deficit and I get a little nervous. So, yeah, thank you, Sharon, for filling in the blanks.
Is
Yeah.
Sharon, once you come up? Yes.
What? Why? Leave her alone.
Because I want her to come up. This lady's our controller, Sharon Mitchell, and she's the one that keeps the money in the right places, and just want to say thank you on behalf of the citizens of Fishkill. Well done. Thank you. Okay? We're done.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a nice
Thank you,
evening.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you.
If I could just say something, I personally want to thank Sharon and the team over in the controller's office. They do a fantastic job. They educate us, keep us on our toes, making sure we're spending money properly. And if we want something foolish, they smack us and give us a cookie.
Okay. Next up is liaison reports. Brian?
Yes, hold on one second. Yes, you gave a very good tribute to Mr. Otter at the opening of the meeting, and it is heart-wrenching. I did meet with Glenn Schofield and spoke about him and learned more about him. And John Lucarella as well, and they had nothing but glowing remarks for the man. He was just really terrific. He was a great asset to Protection Engine 1 in the village, and it's just sad on many levels. He was just young and lost his life and left a 3-year-old boy. And there is a GoFundMe. Look for it on Facebook. There's a GoFundMe to help support his little boy. And I hope that people will take the opportunity to look into that, okay? That's number one. And I want to say also that, yes, we appreciate everybody in Sharon's office, and Lord knows she gets a lot of emails from me inquiring about things, and she's always prompt and fantastic in replying. But Rick Tyler, an employee in the office, unfortunately just lost his father, isn't that correct? And it was rather sudden, and we're very heartbroken, and we feel very sorry for Rick. And I believe he was a veteran, is that what you've learned? Yes, and so we thank Rick for his father and his father's service to our country, and our hearts go out to Rick for the sudden loss of his father. I went on the annual meeting for the Matt Herring Foundation. If everyone will recall, we had quite a drug presentation here a number of weeks ago, and it was very enlightening. And we learned a lot about different assets in the county to help in this scourge, and I'm looking for a note right now. It was very heart-wrenching because of course, the trauma of drug overdoses and the count and the whole, issues surrounding that. But there's also a positive thing. They're very supportive, and people are fighting, they're coming out of it, and they're regaining their lives. And we need to continue to be supportive of people who are obviously, I think their motto is hate the drug, love the addict, or something like that, and that's about right. I ran into Jean Marie there, Jean Marie Nimham, who's a Deputy Commissioner, Director of Community Services, and she was here giving a great presentation on a number of things. And this is my last point. She had 3 budget initiatives, budget mods at the county level that are actually being voted on, and she feels these amendments will go through to develop an empowerment center in the Poughkeepsie area, town of Poughkeepsie. These are to be developed after the money's come through. This is a drop-in recovery center. It's going to be run by people who are in recovery. It's a low barrier, no paperwork. It's just really for people who just have got to come to a place and start seeking treatment, which is, it sounds very innovative. St. Joe's Treatment Center will be opening up. It's a 6 to 8 month program. They have a program just like it in upstate New York. And LEAD, Law Enforcement Assistant Diversion Pre-Arrest. This is very important. They are going to have a program where they are diverting out people away from crime, people who are on the streets, who are taking drugs, and it's a major street outreach. So I commend everybody that's in the battle to help those in society in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. John?
Okay. We had our first live meeting with the Comprehensive Committee on July 27th, right here at Town Hall. A dozen or so committee members attended, as well as several residents. Our next Comprehensive Committee meeting is scheduled to meet 1 week from tonight, August 24th, right here at Town Hall at 7 o'clock. Again, all residents are welcome to attend. Fishkill's first National Night Out took place on Tuesday, August the 2nd. Shout out to the town and village police departments for putting this event together. Also to the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office and the New York State Police for also attending. Big thank you to the town rec department for helping to make this a special night for the Fishkill community. On August 9th, I'm going to follow up on Eddie Cologne's comments. Met with Supervisor Albra, Mayor Martin, Lieutenant Wood, and Eddie Cologne. We're putting together a program geared toward the seniors. It is a community safety forum, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was out in Arizona visiting my mother, who was suffering with dementia, and I picked up the phone call, and it was a scammer. And I swear, they said that they had, my nephew was in trouble with the police. I think it was a DWI or something. He got in trouble. And they had a recording. I swear to God, it sounded just like him. And it freaked me out. I actually called my brother, who was on the bench in Poughkeepsie. I was out in Arizona. I got him off the bench because I thought this was really a serious thing. And I'll tell you, they wanted like $2,500 and a money order, and you know, it's really, this stuff is real. So I'm hoping that a lot of people will attend that forum. Again, that's September the 10th. And I just want to wish everybody a early, happy Labor Day weekend.
Thank you, John. Carmine?
Good evening, everybody. I'll be short and sweet, a lot long-winded like John and Brian. So, our Parks and Rec have been working on several projects. We started taking down the old fences and preparing for our bid that we're going to award tonight to put up new fences. Talking with our highway department and our grounds department, collectively, thanks to John Lucarella and Brandon Knapp, collectively coming together and figure out a way how we could save money milling the park that we're going to put in. We saved a boatload of money, and I want to thank those guys for doing this, because communication within departments can mean huge savings. I'm talking about over $10,000 savings, and those guys should have credit for this. And we're moving forward. We milled the field over at Doug Phillips Park, and now we're looking forward to put in the playground and blacktop and the fence, new fence around the park. The park is going to look awesome.
Tell them about the kayak thing.
Also, the parks put a little access road with the millings that we took from the tennis courts and made a road going down into the creek so they could bring canoes down to the park down there. So if you haven't been down to Doug Phillips Park, look out in the next couple of months. It's really going to look awesome.
I was going to end with that, but I'll just start with saying I agree with everything that Carmine said. It's great. I mean, I went there, the fence is down, like you said, everything's milled. I met a woman who was there with her baby, and her husband was fishing. She was excited that she could park the car where the new area is. She just said how open it looked with all the trees down. So we look forward to putting in some benches so she can actually sit down and enjoy watching her husband fish or just relaxing with her child. So it's going really well. And like he said, thank you to John and everyone who had a hand in doing it collectively, because it was a really good team effort. For my rec center update, the staff did a great job organizing the National Night Out, which we all attended on August 2nd at Gearing Park. Upcoming events are Concert in the Park, Bronx Express Duo on September 14th at Gearing at 12:30 p.m. Sign up began on 8/16, and that cost $3. There's a movie night at the Senior Rec Center on August 29th showing Elvis at 11:30, and it's $8 for lunch and popcorn. It was so popular that it sold out, so they added a second date for September 21st for the same movie. There's a trip to Villa Roma to hear the Michael Bublé tribute on October 18th. That's $75. There's a new chess clinic tomorrow at 10 a.m. There's also a cornhole clinic for adults on August 25th. The rec center is looking for after-school workers, daycare workers. I know Greg put it out on the eGov, but if anybody knows anyone who's interested, they can contact Jay at the rec center or Suzanne Puma, our HR director here at Town Hall. There's also a comic book and independent artist convention on Saturday, November 19th from 11 to 8 p.m. at the rec center. And there's other programs that are all included on the fishkillrecreation.com website, which is very informative, so everybody should check that out. The Village of Fishkill update, I missed their last meeting, but I heard they were discussing the sewer system improvements, and they're working on the eventual goal, which is to eliminate the odor that some people are smelling right now. The mayor asked us to extend the agreement that they have with us for the town to use our building inspector. That's included on the agenda, so we'll talk about that later. The planning board, I've received some concerns from numerous projects before the planning board, which I will address in executive session under personnel matters. Human resource update, Suzanne has been very busy with numerous HR issues, and we'll be working with Julie Shaw, our labor attorney, in the future regarding the hiring policy modifications. She's been hiring new staff, onboarding, dealing with COVID issues, leave absences, raise requests, retirement meetings, exit interviews, on and on and on. And she's also been working with Sharon, so thank you to Sharon and Suzanne, who are together getting us up to speed where we need to be. So thank you to both of you. That's it.
John, you got a follow-up?
Yep. The county executive sent out a press release. There's a registration open for Saturday, September 17th. It's a household hazardous waste disposal and electronics recycling event. If you want to give them a call, 845-463-6020. I can tell you it's a $10 registration fee, and it's only open to the first 380 residents that call. And I think this is the third one that they have done this year. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I tell you, Fishkill residents, we're going to make significant improvements to our parks. It's going to be really good to enhance your quality of life and the reputation of the town of Fishkill. Next up is going to be discussions, the town welcome guide for next year. You guys still want to do this?
I think it's a good idea.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think we need for this, like $5 grand? What do you think?
What are you talking about for the?
We're on item number 1.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Can I just say,
First of all, do you want to do it?
I do want to do it. Okay. Absolutely. But, you know, one of the things that I was proposing, and I think we're all in agreement with, is we've got to upgrade this website. So I'm just thinking that this development of this should be complementary and have the same sort of look as the website. So this is something that I think needs to be in tandem with that.
Okay. So I think we got money allocated for the website, and you want the guide to match the website.
I think it needs to be complementary. There's no doubt about it, and have the same look, and you know, and maybe do some. It's going to be a discussion, of course, but references to, for more information, go to the website, kind of thing.
Understood. So what do you figure, about $5 grand should be enough? What are you guys thinking?
I think we should probably gather some costs. I mean, how many, you know?
What did?
What's the paper quality? What's the print? Well, how many do we want?
I think that in terms of overall cost, we'll want to analyze exactly how many we want to print, how large the guide is going to be, and how much each unit would cost to produce.
Right.
But I would say that if we wanted to be conservative on it and make sure that we could cover ourselves, that we'd probably want a budget between 5 and 7.5.
Carmine?
So when I met with Wappingers about the guide, they had the county print the guide for them at a discounted, really cheap rate than having a company do it. And it was really cheap, and I think they printed over 5,000 booklets for under $5,000.
Yeah, I would like the county to do it.
Good job.
All right, so find out from Wappingers what the cost was.
Okay.
And if it's less than 7,500, can I move on it?
Do we know where it's coming from?
Well, I
we'll
mean,
put it in the
in what
capital
way are
plan.
we
Put it
going
in
to
the
move
budget.
on it? I thought we were
Oh, for
gonna-
next year? For next year?
Yeah, this will be next year.
Oh, okay,
I'm not going
that's
to do it
fine.
this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That's
great. I
Yeah,
think
no,
that.
You're gonna put in the
so-
budget.
So if everybody understands what the guide will do, it'll promote local businesses. It'll
Tourism.
promote our emergency services.
Right.
Who your elected officials are, how to get a hold of them. A guide that will pinpoint and actually enhance some businesses that want to be part of it. It'll be an overall guide to Fishkill. It's a great booklet. If anybody wants to see it, I have a sample from Wappingers, which I think it's awesome for everybody, businesses, residents, everybody.
Our
It's a great
historical
guide.
locations?
Yes, absolutely.
You good with it, Louise?
Yeah, and I said adding all the historical,
Historical stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it down.
All right,
beautiful
so,
New Indian.
Sounds good.
so you can close it. Madam Clerk, Greg, put this on your task list.
Yes, sir.
Find out the actual cost so we can prepare for the budget for it. So close that. Next up is discussion of the flea market event. That day would be the week before the town-wide cleanup. Are you okay to waive the fees?
wait, when is it? What's the date of it?
It's going to be Saturday, September 10th.
Oh, same day.
So it'll be a free event. You don't have to get any permits or anything like that. And then what you can't sell, you can bring to the dump the next week.
And there is a resolution discussion for this further down the
Yeah.
agenda.
I think that's pretty cool, right?
So it's very cool, and it's a good idea, but let's talk about what they can bring to the dump. It's not
there's a
electronic.
list.
There's
There's a
a
not
list.
chemicals.
We'll send them an e-gov list.
Yeah.
That's different, yeah.
Yeah.
And we do put out public notice about that. We always do a Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, the town clerk obviously handles most of that, and on the social media side, I do put out a notice on our Facebook page and in one of our e-govs.
Oh, okay, good.
Regular e-gov.
So Greg,
Yes.
put this on the e-gov, explain both events,
Yes.
that they can have a yard sale free of charge, and then on the 17th, they can go to the dump and get rid of what they don't need.
And then we can promote it on the eGov and on our Facebook and.
Correct.
And have
Yeah,
fun.
we'll make those regular updates.
So we're ready for consent on that. Next up will be the 30-day.
Are we closing the free
You can close it.
conversation?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
it's done.
Before we move on, could I just ask Greg one thing?
That's going to be on there.
Do you have this?
Yeah, I made that on Monday.
Can you email that us to us so we can send it out? also?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next.
Good job, by the way.
Next up, discussion of resolution to waive the 30-day hold on the liquor license, the Green Bowl LLC. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Consent. Next up, discussion, designated August 31st as Daniel Nimham Day in the town of Fishkill. We have the statue up. We don't know when he was born, but we do know he was killed in combat on August 31st. And what I like to do is, every year, the town just puts up a wreath and maybe have a short ceremony. That's it, it's not going to be a day off or anything like that, just to recognize.
I think it's a great idea.
If it's okay for me to do this?
I do.
So this will be in perpetuity.
I think it's a great idea.
Everybody cool with this?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Consent. The second one that everybody's talking, well, not everybody, but people, Mr. Gabbard, on the site where we have this statue is a nice triangle. It's owned by state DOT, and what can we do to limit political signs, yard signs on that site?
Well, there's not a lot that you can do to limit political signs on a public right-of-way. There's First Amendment rights there. You can limit the time that they're up. You can limit the amount of time that, once they're up, they remain up before they have to be taken down, just during, election season, that type of thing. But to ban them outright, especially on land that you don't own, would be a real problem.
What if we just took them and put them down?
I beg your pardon?
Took them and just placed them down on the ground, flat?
You want to place them down on the ground?
Yeah.
I don't think that.
This is like a piece of sacred ground here.
I understand. Who owns it again?
DOT, state DOT.
State DOT. Well, if we go to the state, and you can get the state to say they won't allow any signs there, you might be able to make some headway with keeping them off and being able to take them off.
How can the state say that outright?
Because the state can designate publicly owned property as not being a public forum. They can say, we're not going to allow anything here. Just like you can't come into your offices and put up signs or anything like that. Now, it's tough on a right-of-way because it's already public to some extent, but perhaps the fact that the statue's there would get the state to say that we won't allow signs at all on our property.
They give an exception.
So there is a statute regarding this?
Statute.
Whatever you want, you know what I mean?
Statute.
Yeah, a statute for the statute.
Well, we have a code. We have a signage code.
The state owns the land.
Is he asking for an exception on that land?
Yes,
Yeah.
we'd have to contact DOT and tell them we want them to enact a policy saying no signs on this particular piece of property. If they're willing to do that, then you would be able to take down signs on the property because no signs are allowed on the property.
Understood. So, what was that lady's name? Where'd he go? Miss Bebo?
If I can make a suggestion.
Sure.
In the village, there's a similar location that they don't want to have signs put up. So as courtesy, the mayor would say during election time, please, both parties, every party, please, out of courtesy, don't put signs here. And then I think both parties will, or, how many parties are out there, would adhere to that sacred ground. It's just a courtesy thing, and just remind them, hey, guys, during campaign season, don't put signs here. And I think they will accommodate.
I think that works for the local elections, but there's
about that.
congressional signs out there now, and they're not going to listen to us.
Yeah, well-
I got to tell you.
I think we're going to have to what Mr. Gabba said.
There's no reason you can't do both, by the way, but I'd be happy to help you put together a letter to DOT saying we want to have policy enacted that no signage be allowed in, and we'll have to, describe the area to them. And if you can get DOT to agree to that, I think you're in business.
I have to tell you, I saw the
But-
political signs out there
That's
since the
very
statue, and actually offended me. I thought they should have the decency not to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Supervisor, yeah, so just, we do have a sign code, and there are exemptions, which, like Mr. Galba just said, the political signs and any free speech signs. So, yeah, if you want to get permission, but otherwise, we don't have the right to tell people not to put it there.
So in theory, if I went out there and I saw signs and I just laid them down
You can't
on the
touch
ground,
it.
Political signs, you
You're
can
not
get
allowed
in
to.
Any
serious
sign.
trouble. Well,
what could happen then?
beg your pardon?
What could happen?
I believe, removal of
Not
political
removal,
signs.
picking it up and laying it down.
Well,
You're not
think-
supposed to touch it.
Well, I don't know about taking up and laying it down, to be perfectly honest with you. I know removal of it, I believe, is a civil violation. It might even be a misdemeanor. So you can't go around removing other people's political signs. Interfering with them by laying them down, I'm just not sure.
Okay.
But I wouldn't advise doing it all the same. I mean, you know, there's
No,
got to be a better way.
Brian is correct. We're going to clean that area up really nice, and
What if we, a question real quick, not to belabor this, but I've seen signs that are, you know, kind of small, tasteful, and low to the ground, and asking people, please do not place signs, or please stay off the grass, or please whatever. If we did something like that, that'd be?
That's a sign to say no signs.
Well, it's
Please,
not- it's-
please don't put signs here. I
Then
mean,
you
can
then
we
you have
do
to get
that?
then you, no,
Out of
then you
courtesy?
technically, you'd have to get a permit from Joel to put up a sign that is not a political sign or a free speech sign.
I'm just
Yeah.
brainstorming now.
I like
So-
your idea,
I'm
Brian.
not sure you can erect signs on DOT property.
All we have to do,
Anyway.
What if they don't know?
all we have to do is simple. You call up the political party that's affiliated with that sign and say, please, out of courtesy, remove your sign, and that campaign person will remove the sign. It's very simple.
That sounds like a job for you, Carmen.
We're going to be dealing with that 2-3 times a day then. All right, so I'll do it, I'm going to recommend, I'm going to work with Mr. Gaba. We're going to, Greg?
Sir.
We're going to write a letter to DOT.
Yep.
I think, what was the lady's name? Ms. Bibbo?
Yes.
Let's contact her through Mr. Gaba to ask if we can get a state, what do you call it?
They would enact a policy.
Enact the policy.
Enact a policy so we don't put no one can put any type of signs on that site.
Got it.
Okay, so we can, you guys okay working on that?
Sure.
So you can take that off the agenda? Close that. Next one up is discussion of affordable housing for volunteer firefighters. I attended an event with all you guys with the National Night Out, and the firefighters, especially the young ones, are having a hard time living in the town of Fishkill. And they're asking, I know they asked you guys, they asked me, what can we do to try to keep these younger guys and gals in town instead of losing them? And any ideas, John?
Well, Councilman Rye and I are meeting with the volunteer fire districts. We've had 2 meetings with them. We're heading for a 3rd meeting next month. And what I think I'd like to do is try and get, a half a dozen ideas together for them to bring to us at the town board level. And this certainly would probably be one of them.
It's one of them.
I just don't want to do a resolution in October and a resolution in February, and, maybe try and get some ideas from these meetings that we're having.
And work on all of them at once.
And put together a package.
Mr. Gallo, as you know, we have a lot of money in this affordable trust fund, and we can't use it, and I know I talked about it before, maybe giving them like a $200 a month stipend. I know you said we couldn't do that.
You can't do that.
But can we do that by local code, by passing a local law?
You can't pass a local law to give away public funds. It just won't work.
So that's illegal.
Well, yeah, it's illegal.
What about a matching fund with an apartment complex? Like say they give 100 and we give 100.
If you
A
have
matching grant.
affordable housing, local laws enacted that provide for funds to the developer as part of like a public-private partnership, you might be able to work out something along those lines.
So if there's an apartment complex that has 3 volunteer firemen living in it, we can have a contract with that apartment to say we'll subsidize volunteer firemen that live in the town of Fishkill for 10% of their income?
I don't think it
10%
would
of the
work
rent?
out that easily, but you might be able to work it out through a local law, and if you had people buy into, we're going to keep this affordable for a certain number of years, and these would be
the parameters under which we would allow them to be rented, perhaps there's something you could do in that neighborhood. I'm very leery about the whole, the town's going to pay out funds.
Individually.
Individually, collectively, whatever it is, you give them pot and say, this is, you know, what you're going to use toward subsidizing the low-cost funding. Now, there may be a way you could do it by contract, which is why I'm saying it's possible that if you structure your affordable housing law, there may be a way to do it.
You guys interested in doing that?
Well, I mean, it sounds good. It's just like Mr. Gaba has said in the past, you know, if he can think of a solution that's legal for us to do, then I think we're all for it, but it's a difficult.
Carmine, you okay with him looking into it?
Yes, we can look at that.
Housing and jobs are the, you know, the things that we hear from these meetings right now. There's just no doubt about it. It's affordability. It's that, but it's also daycare. I mean, there's quite a list out there. So, I mean, I'm on board with exploring everything. Let's come back with what they have and then take it from there and see what we can develop, what funds we have or what we can do.
Can I work with a sidebar to see if it's even permissible, Mr. Gabo?
Heck, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
John?
I think the thing to do is have me look into types of affordable housing laws that you can enact.
Okay.
And if it looks like there's a way that you can use the funds that you have to make this happen, then I'll report that back to you. If you want to go further and start to develop that type of law, we can draft it, you can look at it, and we can go from there. But why don't you let me look into it first?
Look into it first, bring it to our attention, and we'll discuss it, and then we'll tell you to go further if we want to go further.
Yeah.
'Cause that'll be, if we can help them a little bit, that'll help them from moving out of town, out of state, and that, because eventually what's going to happen in certain districts, there's not going to be any volunteers, and then they're going to be full-time, and then the taxpayer is going to pay more for fire tax than they're paying for school tax. I want to avoid that.
This is the reason why we started engaging them, because we're worried about that very thing. And the average age of all volunteers right now is up there. And so let's use this opportunity for everyone listening to think in terms of volunteering. There are a lot of different jobs within working with the fire departments. And if you have it in your heart to work and get involved in the town, this is a great way to do it. There's got to be a local firehouse near you.
Supervisor, just a couple of years ago when Rolling Hills project was going on and there was a public hearing, the fire chief from the fire department off of 9D said exactly what we're talking about. Nobody's in his department because nobody can afford to live there, and those apartments were going to be expensive, so it's been an ongoing problem, so I'm all for anything
You
we
remind
can
me of
do.
something, John.
Yeah.
So could the supervisor or Mr. Gaba, or both, provide some hard copy to the town board members regarding this $1 million that is set aside for certain projects? Because I really don't know what's eligible that we can use it for. I mean, rather than just talk about it, can somebody give us a hard copy and say, here's the 14 things that we can do with it?
We'll provide you with a summary memo if that's what the board wants, sure.
Okay.
I would like that.
Okay. That'll work.
Yeah.
Hypothetical, Mr. Gaba, like Miss Louise just said, we got these big apartment complexes. Has anybody ever created a fire district within several apartment districts?
Well, you can create a fire district wherever you want. The town doesn't create fire districts, though.
How was a fire district created?
Fire district,
What I'm getting at,
I'm really not sure. I know it's got to be on petition, or it can be, I believe, by the state. Either the people petition to create one, or the state can undertake to create it. But municipalities, towns do not create fire districts, I can tell you that.
So, and the petition will have to be from people that live in that area?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next up is, what, honey? Close it. I'll work with Mr. Gavin. If we have something, we'll do something new. Next up, a discussion and resolution to accept resignation of town historian Paul Gromkowski. I thank him for his last 2.5 years of service. He helped me a lot with the Chief Nimham statue, and he restored the Tea Party, the Washington Sword Monument marker over there by the park, and the monument by the Putnam County line on Route 9. I'm going to miss him. He's definitely gung-ho about being a historian, but after 2.5 years, he's had enough. Everybody okay with taking his resignation?
Yes, I just
Thank
want to
you.
say something. He's, Paul Gromkowski is a neighbor. I've known him for years.
He's a good-hearted individual, hardworking. I'm not surprised he just decided to start refurbishing the signs out there. For instance, the Bailey sign designating the sword. And Paul, you're a great guy, and thank you very much.
Well done. So that's for resolution. You can close it out. Next one, discussion of resolution to appoint Mr. Arnold Restivo as town historian. We spoke to him earlier tonight. Everybody okay moving on to consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Next one up is discussion of resolution to waive permitting of townwide yard sale. Everybody's okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Next up is discussion of September 11th ceremony. Last year was the 20th anniversary, so it was a little more elaborate. We could do something simple, a wreath laying. I just want to hear what you guys want to do. Any suggestions?
Obviously, it needs to be recognized. I certainly would, I mean, it was special, it was rather large, there's no doubt about it. But certainly including police departments and fire districts, and I think that would be appropriate. I don't know.
Well, I think the 10-year and 5-year anniversaries should be a little bigger. I don't know, I'm just...
You say this
will be the 21st anniversary.
Just the 21st,
Yeah, so
right.
last year was pretty big. We had the fire
Right.
departments and everything there. And then we got the village, I think they do theirs after or before. We got to get the timing right on that.
Yeah.
You could say that.
What's that, honey? What?
No, that's your honey, baby. Well, maybe working with the village, I think Carmine just suggested that, maybe we could do one together, a 9/11 ceremony, because I think they have one as well, so.
Yeah,
we
I think
have
they're going
one.
to be, I think when we do them, we did them separately since the beginning. So that's been our tradition.
We could change tradition.
Well, we got a beautiful monument out front.
Or we can time it where we can invite them to come to ours, and then we can go to theirs afterwards, so the timing is there.
I think that's that's a minimum.
Okay.
But are you guys okay with just a wreath laying, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so Greg, I need to know what time their ceremony is,
I'll reach out.
and then we'll do, I think they do it when, depends when the planes hit or something, I'm not exactly sure, but that's when they time theirs, and I think we do ours either after or before, I just don't know. All right, so you can close that one out. Greg, you work with me on that?
Yes, sir.
Discussion of waiving alcohol use party for a proposed event. Carmine, you were with me that day with Mr.
Yes.
Brownell?
Yes.
So can you give us an update?
So I know Mr. Brownell was talking about doing an event at one of the parks, and is this the one for his event, or was this for the cafe?
No, this was his event. He wanted to put it in Guerin Park. He wants to get a band. He did it in Beacon. He got a waiver. I guess it comes from the state, did he say?
So, yeah, the state grants a temporary alcohol permit, but I don't know if we can do that in our parks. Mr. Gaba, I'm not sure what our policy is on that.
You have a specific provision in your code allowing waiver of any prohibition in the parks, including the prohibition on alcohol use. You have to have permission from the town board, though.
So we could do it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the state issued him a permit for sites. They issue it. He gives the location, and they issue like 4 or 5 permits that he can do within a certain area. So, yes, it's something that's doable as long as the town board would allow alcohol being served in the park.
So what is he doing? He's renting the park for a concert?
A party, concert, yeah. We'll start holding some concert series.
It's a what?
Concert series, once a year maybe. I'm willing to try it one time.
Well, as long as we offer that to everybody else.
Of
then
course.
That's fine.
Of
Yeah.
course.
If I may, on this, Mr. Supervisor?
Yeah.
If you're going to allow, alcohol to be served in the park, you're going to want to make sure the appropriate safeguards are in place so that minors aren't served.
Okay.
That there's a designated area in which it's served, that there's appropriate, if there's a lot of alcohol being served, security in the area, just in case there's an issue. So you're going to want to know quite a bit before the board.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. Have to have the proper insurance, liability. They have to have, of course, our standard in the town. Also, the state standard is even higher. They have to have a certain security perimeter. So the permit issued is a higher standard, and they got to have wristbands and ways to identify ages. So I've done it before with my Hoptember event, so it's the same exact thing.
Me and Carmine just want to
So
let you guys know. Is you guys okay with it if we bring it?
Yeah,
He doesn't want to
they're
start
selling
deep into this when alcohol is probably going to be a component. If you said no with the alcohol, it probably wouldn't happen. So you good just to explore it a little more?
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
Okay, all right, so you can close this one out, too?
Is next year?
No, he's thinking, what, this
So
year?
very similar when Beacon has their beer festival down at the riverfront, is very
Oh.
similar to that.
Okay.
Next up is modification of the budget to purchase chairs. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes? Any questions?
No.
Next up, discussion of resolution for budget
Wait,
amendment.
I think you didn't move it.
Number 12.
Yeah.
Yep, number 8. So you can close the discussion out. Number 13, discussion for budget amendment for Recreation Fund babysitting program, annual thing. Everybody okay with it?
Yes.
Resolution. Next up, discussion of resolution to accept auditor's report for the town of Fishkill Justice Court. And the next one will be the independent auditors for the town, ending on December 31st, 2021. Anybody have any questions on those? He made his presentation. We asked questions. We're okay with consent?
We're good.
Yes.
Okay. Close those two out in discussion. Next up is the intermunicipal agreement for snow and removal of ice control services with Dutchess County. Any questions on that? Carmine?
Yeah, we've given large increases. Our fuel costs have gone up tremendously, doubled. Our salt cost has gone up $10 a ton. Currently, we have not had an increase from the county since approximately 2017. I think that hopefully the highway department is negotiating with the county. We should be asking for an increase because our costs have tremendously increased. We're currently plowing 8 miles of road at $5,000 a mile, which is very, very cheap. We're not here to lose money or pay for taking care of the county roads. I think they need to increase how much they're paying us.
Is this increased? Is this
Sharon, does it
increased
say
in here,
flat?
Carmen? Is it increased?
Is it flat?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
flat. It's the same amount we've paid since the inception of the agreement.
Okay.
Is
So
there,
what do you guys want me to do? Just table it?
is there a way to change it?
That was my concern, too. I wrote notes about the expenses,
Hold on,
because everything is
hold on.
going
One
up.
second.
So,
The actual contract agreement is not up for resolution on this. I believe,
Discussion.
having spoken with the representatives from the highway department, is that they're still looking to negotiate terms with the county,
Okay.
and that they're hopeful to have the contract for us by either the 1st or the 2nd September meeting. So when that's done, we'll have that on, and then there'll be a discussion to adopt that.
So you want to see an increase?
Yeah.
yes.
Let's get that increase in that contract.
We
Get
have
that
to.
increase in that contract. Okay.
But do we know what we want to increase it to?
We got the numbers right here, Carmen. I don't know the,
Carmen, have you checked other
$10
towns
per
what they're
whatever.
charging?
Yes, we should be getting close to at least $7,000 per mile.
Well, let's put it this way. The contract is $83,000, $800. What do you think that amount should be?
It's actually 40,000
What is it at?
if you read it.
$41,912?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think that number should be?
Probably about 20% more.
So you're talking 50 grand?
Yeah, so about 88,000 more.
8,000, so 50K? So that's what we'll be looking at, 50K.
But I don't know how Glenn, our highway superintendent, needs to negotiate that with Gary Cooper. So there's some things that that the highway needs to,
Okay.
making sure that we're getting paid properly.
You want to call him? Can you call him? Yes. So I'm going to sign Councilman Foreman to talk to Gary, and we'll see if we can come with a quick resolution for this. Thank you, John. So let's just table this to the next meeting. Next up is number 17, discussion of resolution to authorize acceptance of bid for fencing. Any questions? We're finally getting there.
No.
Everybody happy? Good? All right. That's consent. Get rid of it on discussion. Next up is discussion of resolution to authorize connection to Dutchess Park Sewer District. Businessman would like to possibly connect into a district. We wrote the resolution to where he would have to take care of a bunch of things before he hooked into it. I'm sure everybody read it. Any questions? Everybody okay with consent?
Yep.
Thank you. Consent removed from discussion. Number 19, discussion of resolution authorizing grant application and contract. That was the one for the sewer line? Yes.
Can you just explain that?
Yeah, this was, it's going to be $15,000 to do this. let me see. I'll read it. The Brickroff Water District utilizes a single-source pipeline from the source to the distribution system. The town board desires to create a loop within the Brickroff Water District distribution system. This loop will create redundancy and mitigate the risk of a single-point failure. This capital improvement will provide tangible benefit to the customers in the Brickroff Water District. The town board is seeking opportunities to accept grant funds to help reduce the cost to residents. The town board will discuss this resolution authorizing a grant application and contract. So basically with these water districts, the way Brickroff is built, if there's a water main break, the entire district is out of water. So if we had this loop system, it's about 400, 500 feet more that we have to extend it. If there was a water main break, we can direct the water to go to a different direction so that people wouldn't lose water. And there's a grant available for this, and the cost to do the grant is about $15,000. So I think it's worth pursuing. Your thoughts?
It's also going to be beneficial for the other connection with the fire department as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's beneficial all around.
Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Good for consent? Remove from the discussion. Next up, discussion of resolution extend terms of recreational department for basketball. Any questions? Consent. Discussion of resolution extend term of intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Fishkill.
Wait, you missed one.
We're at number 22.
You missed 20.
You missed number 20.
I missed 20?
Yeah.
To approve salary increase for recreation department staff?
Yep.
Any discussion on that? Okay, that's good for consent. Then we did the basketball. Everybody's okay with consent? Then the next resolution would be extend the term of intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Fishkill. The Village of Fishkill building inspector retired, and the village asked us to pick up the slack, and we agreed to do that. So this will probably end around the end of October. We did a contract where we'd be reimbursed, and I'm okay with it. Everybody okay with it?
I just have a question about the contract itself. I think it says on the term shall terminate on October 1st, so I don't know if that's
Okay, and
incorrect.
that's the date.
I had updated, the signed contract will reflect October 17th. That might just be a typo. I'll make sure that the copy that gets executed by the supervisor has the correct date.
Do we have to amend that resolution?
No,
From the first?
you can treat that as a typo, I think.
Okay, 17th?
Yeah.
Make that correction?
Yeah, hit the 7 key, maybe I didn't hit it all the way.
Okay. Put that to consent. We're up to number 23, surplus equipment and highway. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Consent. Discussion of police accreditation. I need some more time to think about that. Anybody want to discuss that?
I want to table it.
Let's table it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Let's go ahead and table it. But did you, at all, with the number of items that we have on the police department, did you happen to have a conversation with the chief about any of them?
No.
Okay. So with what you're proposing for the police accreditation, I really, that and another item, I really encourage a conversation with the chief, because we have a Lieutenant Cadden on staff. He's experienced with accreditation. This is his designated program, and...
So are we talking about this now, or are we tabling this, just so I know?
Yeah, so
Supervisor?
you want to discuss it or table it?
Good point.
Sounds like you're talking about it.
We'll table it.
Yeah, let's table it.
But there's some good stuff already in place for that.
I'm not, okay. All right,
Good.
so just table to first meeting in November.
But did you want to do something with the budget? Is that why you brought it up?
To be honest with you, I don't think we can do this. So I'm not confident that's going to be done.
Okay.
And I don't think I want to really waste the money on it.
Nothing to
So,
waste.
to be honest with you, Becky, why don't you just close it? Close it.
He changed his mind.
You talking about accreditation?
Yeah.
Well, I
Close
mean, there is a lieutenant that's going to be working on it, so.
Okay.
I know.
Then let him do it.
You changed your mind?
Yep. Well, I've had a lot of discussions with other law enforcement personnel from the state, the county, other municipalities, and it's a real challenge to get a part-time police department accredited. I did run for office, getting the place accredited, something I think that would be a great item to have for this part-time police department, but I just don't know if they can do it. So I just don't want to waste any more money doing something that's may not get done, or may, I just don't want to
I think
do
when we
it.
get staffed up with the officers that we need in the short
Oh,
term
we're
we
talking
have,
about it again.
we can, well, I'm mimicking the supervisor who's discussing it.
That's fair game.
So, I think there's an opportunity, once we get fully staffed up, that we can do this, because I know the chief wants it, so.
Thank you. Next up is a monetary donation for the police department. It was $500 from, who gave that
Racing
to?
Club.
There you go. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, a discussion of police cameras and telecommunication systems. There was a citizen that was on that had they called the police department, and there were some issues, and I'd like to know what you guys' thoughts of the cameras and telecommunication systems being operational or not.
Well, I think can you give the new board the background on what happened last year, why they were shut off, what the reason was?
Feel free, please.
So I don't stand corrected, but I believe the chief said that he shut them off because of lack of staff, because when you have to do the paperwork to send up to the DA's office, it's very time-consuming, and it has to be done in a certain amount of time. So he didn't have the people to review the cameras in order to see if there was something that had to be evidence that had to be added to that. And he was looking for the 2 extra lieutenants, which we now have. So I'm just wondering if we have the lieutenants, that we turn them on, because I think they're important to have all the calls recorded. That's what I think.
Again, another item, if you excuse me for saying, that nobody had a conversation with the chief about, so he's not quite 100% certain what we're talking about just with this headline discussion of police department camera. Anyway,
Well, I don't really think he knows about it previously.
Well, he knows, but the thing is, can we somehow get him, I want to table this, please, and can we get him in a conversation so we're all on the same page?
Do you guys want the cameras and the phones working? Because last year, I had a woman that was like 80 years old. It was a minor traffic accident. She called over there. She felt she was disrespected, and she's like literally crying on the phone to me. And what usually would happen is I can find out the date and time, and then the board could review what was said on those tapes, but we can't do that because they're unavailable. So what I like to do is propose a resolution that the cameras and the, whatever cameras, telecommunications, they stay on, and when they're off, that the chief has to notify the town board. The reason that they're off is it could be maintenance. These things just break.
So
right? And then we can allocate the money to fix it, because if something breaks and no one tells us, cameras could be out for a year or two.
Supervisor, I also have the same situation where someone called to me to complain, and about someone who they were speaking to, and it's hard to determine what the true story is when you don't have the recording to go back to. So I think this is also part of the new police reform, that everything should be recorded. So I don't really think it's a matter of what the chief thinks or what we think, but it should be done. I mean,
Could we, and I've no doubt that I'm not the expert, you're the police officer, and I get it, I understand you need that. But can we just table this and have him come before us and answer questions so I can understand it
I thought he was going to
better?
be here tonight, so
I can
don't know.
understand the equipment, maybe he's, so can we just do that?
How about we send him a letter via being the police commission, asking him these questions, and see what his recommendations are on the specific thing.
Sounds good.
Greg, so tomorrow we'll basically say,
They need to be
we'd
turned
like
back
to know,
on.
what is the status of the cameras and telecommunications? Are they operational? If they're not operational, why? And if there could be something broken, and if they do become broken, I'd like to know the police commission to be notified of it, so we can make the allocations to make those repairs.
Okay, so a memo requesting a report?
A formal memo.
Understood.
Is that okay?
I think that's perfect, and I think we should have maybe done that first. I think that would have been a good idea.
Well, I don't think so, because, I mean, we've had this issue before, and since we got the 2 lieutenants that were hired, that was what the reason was. And like I said, I have had an issue that I asked him to address, and he hasn't addressed it, and I think there was another issue, so, as a police commission, we have the right to say, turn it back on.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just don't know the history myself,
That's the
because I don't know
point.
what happened last
No, I
year.
understand.
So, yes, I understand.
And it wasn't a big deal. The lady was involved in a car accident, and she admitted it was her fault, but the way she was treated, she was crying to me. And I'd like to know what was said. And if there's no evidence, then
Well,
there's nothing you really could do.
And evidence for crimes as well. If somebody calls and says something to the dispatcher, that's part of the, what has
Correct,
to go up
correct.
to the DA's
So,
office.
this town is for, transparency.
Also, it'd also be good to see, there are people out there that love mistreating our police officer. I'd like to have that recorded as well.
You're absolutely 100%.
It goes both ways, exactly.
Cuts both ways.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll write a letter. Greg, tomorrow morning, write a letter. Next up is psychological evaluations for the
Wait,
police.
Becky, I'd like to know.
Table?
No, I think we should
Table
close it,
for answer?
and then I'll do a new resolution based on the chief's recommendations. Because I think it's simple. I think the stuff should be working, and if they're not working, he should notify us why, and what do we do to fix it? Is that simple?
It is, but,
How do we know it's not working?
He told us he
Until
shut
you
them off.
ask them.
Yeah.
If you don't ask questions, you won't know.
Originally, they were working, they were turned off because there wasn't enough staff. So
Yes.
unless it's broken since then, we were last advised that it was shut off.
So if it's broken, we should be notified this way, like I
But
said.
it could be working now. We just-
could
It
be.
was working, yeah.
Well, it could be working right now.
It could be.
Okay,
No, you mean turned on. You don't mean working. You mean turned on.
turn on.
Okay,
Record
so
it. Well,
Shouldn't we
so-
table this
So
and
I
then
had
wait and
asked-
hear his
Yeah, I
response?
asked for something
Okay.
and didn't get a response back on that, so I don't know.
First meeting in September. Table it, please. Next up is discussion of psychological evaluations. I'm willing to consider this, but I'm not going to consider...
Can I give you the whole rundown? Because you made me
Oh, well, I'm just going to
look
say,
into
I'm willing
it.
to discuss this. There was talk about polygraphs. I don't want to do any
No, no
polygraphs.
polygraphs.
So you were looking into this, Louise, for the psychological evaluations? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I was asked by the supervisor during a meeting a few months ago to look into psychological evaluations for police officers prior to hiring them. He asked me to speak with Suzanne, our HR person regarding it. She's been very busy, and she asked me to look into it, which I did. It was supposed to come up at the last meeting, but it was overlooked, so that's why it's on for tonight. I reached out to local PDs who advised me that they used a company out of Albany. I emailed the person whose name is David Kelly, and I just want to say, I asked Greg to put all of this information on the agenda packet, because I don't like when there's not information on the agenda packet. I think it's non-transparent. So for anybody who wants to follow along with what I'm talking about, the name of the site is pspsych.com. So it's pspsych.com. So I reached out to David Kelly from that company, who referred me to their website, which lists all of the police agencies who use their services, including Beacon, East Fishkill, and others in the area. There's a whole list of it on the website. Basically, the process is conducted after a conditional offer of employment has been made, but before the candidate is hired. It involves a written battery of psychological tests, an interview with a psychologist, and a full written report of the findings. The full evaluation cost is $325 and can be done at Town Hall, the written part, and sent to them to review it, and then they can have a Zoom interview with the psychologist. You could also go to Albany, but I don't think it's cost-effective to have them go to Albany. I looked up the New York State Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, which you can just Google and find online. On page 53 of it, it discusses hiring standards, and in letter D states a psychological review by a qualified psychologist, and there's an asterisk, just so you all know what I'm referring to. Let me pass it down. For hiring standards, it says psychological review by a qualified psychologist or psychiatrist pursuant to, I can't see the section because it's blurred there, candidates with a valid training certificate pursuant to Section 219Q of the General Municipal Law may be exempt. Commentary, the purpose of the standard is to ensure that all law enforcement officers are in good moral character and physically and psychologically fit to be employed in the position and subjected to, this is like blurred, to it, the same criteria for employment. In accordance with the Professional Policy Act of 2021, agencies must maintain compliance in order to achieve and maintain certificate as mandated in the executive law. So if we want to be accredited, this is what we need to do. This also, we should be following this because of the new Professional Policing Act from last year, from 2021. I don't really see why there would be an issue with it, so I recommend that we actually move forward with it.
Any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
Under that act, from what I understand, and I appreciate your work, and I understand where you're coming from, I think we all want to make sure that we're hiring good people. the same act, doesn't it discuss whether or not the force is competitive or not? Isn't there a requirement that if the police force is competitive?
Oh, there's many things that you need to do to have accreditation. So
Okay.
there's many, many things that we are not even close to being near, but if the goal is for the Town of Fishkill Police Department to be accredited, this is one of the things that should be done. And like I said, I don't see any reason why somebody would not want to give a potential applicant a psychological review, because for their own safety and for our liability, it should be done. A case in point is the person that was just hired last month, which I didn't approve, but you guys did. He's a young man, so I mean, it would have been beneficial for him to go through that, not only for us, but for himself too. Sometimes people go to a police academy thinking that's what they want to do, and they get there and realize like, wow, this is really not for me. So this could help in making sure that whoever we're going to hire really feels that this is a job for them, and it covers us liability-wise too. I'm sure it probably helps with insurance as well.
So I agree with you on that, the new hire, like the young gentleman. Something I would like to think about, and something I want to point out, is that we're hiring officers that are already police officers, that are stepping down from another job, already had this evaluation done.
But we don't know it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would we spend additional funds
Well,
for this if
this-
they already had it? Can they show us that they proved that they had this
That's
exam?
exactly what it says here, Carmen. So if you
Yes.
look at D underneath it, it says candidates, I know, it's really hard to read this because it's blurry,
It
but
is
it
hard to
says what
read.
you're saying. Candidates with valid police training certificates pursuant to whatever section that is general municipal law may be exempt. So I would say if there was somebody who was retired that can show us that they had that, then they won't have to do that.
What number was that on this?
It's under D where I have the little star, right
Oh,
underneath
okay.
that. It's kind of hard to read because the whole copy's
So
blurry.
okay, so that makes
Yeah,
more
so,
sense. So
yeah.
if they've had it,
And
we're
they
not
can
gonna-
say they had
So if
it.
we have someone like new, like that young gentleman,
Right,
say,
or
I
somebody-
agree, he
yes.
should, yes.
Potentially, there could be somebody who transfers here or is a part-time police officer somewhere else that
Okay.
may not have had it. So it would, maybe, it would be those people as well.
Yeah, but if you have the training certificate, that doesn't mean, like a Fishkill cop today can transfer somewhere else and have that certificate, then he would be exempt.
That's why it
even though-
says may. Ozzy, it says may, so we could tailor it to
So-
what we think is necessary.
So what do you think?
Can we-
Waive that someone that took the test doesn't have to do it?
Oh, absolutely, if they took
Or
it.
if they took the test, we waive it?
Yeah.
This is another one where, you know, it's like beyond the cameras, we're talking about psychological evaluation. So I really would like to have the chief's input on this. Because I know that we have a police shortage, and we have a police shortage all over the place, and we want to get the best people in our police department. But I'm concerned on necessity. I'm just concerned on a balance here. I'm concerned on if this deters people from applying for our police force. I don't know how. What's the background on this? What's the impetus for this, other than, we're talking about accreditation, that's one thing, but has there ever been an outcry that we need to be doing this? I don't know. I just would like to table this. I'd like to have the chief have an opportunity to review this with us.
So just so you know, he was here when we spoke about it last time. I don't think he was for it, but that doesn't mean that the police commission can't decide that we think that it's something necessary. If someone applies to be a police officer and they don't want to take a psychological exam, that would
That's a
tell
red
me
flag right
that
there.
there might be something more to that. And if you want a job, you should be willing to at least show that you're capable. If you go to that website, it lays it out. So, I mean, again, it's-
What departments around here use that
if
place?
you, all right.
I'm
I have
just-
to pull, there's like, so East Fishkill, Beacon, Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, there's a whole list of them if you go on the website. I can read them off if you want me to get onto it.
So nearly everybody in Dutchess County uses them.
And outside of Dutchess County as well, because they're located up in Albany.
I would like to bring the labor law attorney involved in this.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've spent about 6 hours with the labor law attorney about the take-home cars, and we still haven't gotten to second base on that. So we're going to talk about having our police officers take psychologist evaluations.
No, what do you
Well,
mean?
why wouldn't we bring the labor law attorney and talk
She's
about that?
I have spoken to her, and she said that she's in
All right,
agreement with doing
I
it.
want to get something in writing or have her come in and
Yeah,
make
we
a
need to-
presentation.
But-
This
but-
is a
So it's
big
just
thing.
amazing that
not a
everybody
big
can
thing.
call the labor
not a
lawyer
big
and get
thing.
their own
Well,
opinion
it's not a
of
big
what
thing
they
at all.
think. There's nothing to this. Like, if you
It's not a
want to
big
be a
thing.
cop, you should be able to take a psychological test. It's not that much money. It's to the point where we're going to hire you, and this is part of what you do. It would be like if you're a driver and you take a drug test. You're a police officer, you have to make sure you're psychologically capable of handling the job. So, I don't see the
Well,
issue.
That may be all right and all true, but I'm not ready to move on this.
Yeah, me either.
Well, I am.
I need to know more. I need
Okay.
to talk more. I need to understand it better.
Look up, let's say, Brian, look the site up when you get a chance. It'll tell you. I can forward you the emails from the person who sent
Okay.
them to me, so you can read them as
No,
well.
I understand.
Yeah.
I've been doing a little background myself, and I'm
Yep.
not anti it. I just need to know more, you
Okay.
know? I just need to table this, I think.
Yeah, there's no resolution for it.
All right, that's good.
Carmen?
So I think, I see both sides of this, it's something I was stuck on, but I believe if we have someone who's never had a psychological evaluation and they come work for us, they should have one. If they have had one in the past, it's not required. Simple.
Well, can we put it like a time limit on that?
Yeah.
I graduated Police Academy in 1991, and if I wanted a job here, that's 30 years ago. People change, people get married, they get divorced, things change. Can we put like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years?
I don't know what, I see, these are.
I don't know what the standard is.
These are important questions on something that affects us in hiring people, and it's.
Every person, that young man that came in, that wants to be a state trooper, he's gonna have to take a
Understand.
psychological. Everybody that wants to be a cop has to take a
But we're talking about 90%
psychologist.
of our officers that have already taken these tests, and now we're talking about
We don't know
applying some
that.
sort of expiration
We
date.
don't know that they've taken the
You know,
test. That's a
I mean, the milk
presumption.
goes bad after what? I don't know. What are we talking about?
So we
So,
got,
Mr. Gaba, are psychological exams helpful in the event of a potential lawsuit for our town?
Well, it depends on what the claim is as far as that goes. If it's an automobile accident, probably not. If it's assault, probably.
So potentially could.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
Can we just get some more information and discover this?
Yeah,
before
we-
we make a decision?
we made some movement, so,
You know.
Carmine, you're okay with if they never took a test, to give them a test?
I really feel that way, yes.
My only thing is, a year period, can we consider a 5-10-year period if they haven't taken a test within 5-10 years? Would you consider something like that?
Let's,
Why are we making an
so-
arbitrary decision
yeah.
right now?
Yeah, let's not
This is
make the-
discussion, this is discussion. We got it to where if they never took a test, they're taking a test.
I think that we're working good together on a lot of things. Let's go to the labor attorney, let's see what she recommends.
Okay.
I think we need to educate ourselves about this, all of us.
Not a problem.
And let's continue working together on this.
Okay. Letter labor attorney.
Who's reaching out to her? What?
I'm gonna ask, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to ask her?
On applying this to, is this, and I'm not questioning anyone's authority on this or knowledge, but just, are we having to do this if we are non-competitive? And is it, fall in line with becoming accredited? Are there other examples of giving an expiration date if they, on past tests, if would they want to be hired here? Is that an important thing to do? I'm just concerned about, doing it right if it's going to be done, but also I'm concerned about it being, in some ways, a deterrent towards applicants. This is a very critical time in our police department's life and everyone's right now as far as getting people. So I'm worried about the balance.
That's exactly why it should be done.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, of what you just said. Yeah, because people who, it is a time where police officers are not respected, police officers are looked down upon. It's a sad new world that we live in. So this would be beneficial for the police officer, I think, to, like I said, just to make sure that they may not even realize something when they get spoken to by a psychologist that might say, like, "Wait, maybe this isn't for me." So I don't see it as a negative, and I don't think it's a last step in it. It's not going to deter it so much longer than us hiring somebody else, so.
Yeah,
I respect that.
Yeah.
If somebody wants a job, they're gonna take the test. So Greg, remind me to write a letter to Ms. Shaw tomorrow morning. And what we're going to do is say that new people that never have taken these exams will have to, and I want to ask her opinion, why it's a good idea, why it's a bad idea, and should there be any a difference between someone taking the test 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? What's her opinion on that? Can there be what year is it? There might be some case law saying 10 years from the prior psychological exam was some.
Her full guidance.
Her case, look for some case law and guidance on that.
Could it be, do you mind, before you fire that off, because this is kind of important, do you mind circulating the questions in case we want to add something to it and everybody reads it? And
I'm just going to prepare a draft. The supervisor can look it over and he can share it with you and get your feedback.
Yeah, not a problem. Good?
Good.
All right, so table that to the first meeting in September. Next up is discussion of traffic officer. I think we're all in agreement, well, I think we have a majority that's in agreement with this. I'd like to set up a resolution where we create this position. Mr. Gabel, how do you create something where until the PBA and the town board agrees on their hours or something? Can we do something like that?
What is it you want to do?
I want to budget for an I want to budget for a traffic officer. It's not in their PBA contract.
We could certainly add it to the budget, doesn't mean that you're going to spend it.
Which is my point. Could I add a thought here? Which, in speaking with the chief, I know that there are 4 different officers he's looking to bring on in addition to our needs now. One is a security guard with Wappinger Central School District, which the school district will pay for. They're in discussions about that. A drug
what do you mean? What is that?
Why is this?
Well, they're asking us to supply security, so he's talking with them. Obviously, he's not going to be making a good decision, but they seem to be asking for a 20-hour-a-week police officer to be at one of the schools, possibly John Jay.
That's an SRO, that's a totally different thing.
And they would pay for it 100%. There's also the drug task force officer that the sheriff's department will pay for. What I'm getting at is with traffic, and if we need another officer, for instance, if we do get body cams, there needs to be someone that can handle the discovery, the cameras, the everything else. Is this something that we should bring all this together in one chunk at budget time to discuss, as opposed to just starting now? I'm throwing that out there.
I have to submit a budget by the end of September, right? So I don't know what the holdup is. He brings his needs to us.
Okay.
I was looking at an accreditation officer and a traffic cop. I'm okay with just the traffic cop. This other stuff, I don't know how I just don't know how you do that. I'm sure we can, but I just don't know what he wants to do.
Well, let's get him to.
You'll find out soon enough, right?
Let's get him to submit that in writing, what's going on with that and how we handle that. So
it's like a shared services.
Shoot an email.
Wait, what are you
to him
talking about,
now.
shared services?
Well, he wants to let the schools.
That's a totally different thing. You're talking about a traffic cop and putting money in the budget for a traffic cop.
Yes,
A school person is called an SRO, a school resource officer. So we'd have to get the school, or the Wappinger Central School District, or the Beacon School District to want us to do that. And then, he's right, there is grants. I don't know if it's going to happen like that. And they have already resource officers in other schools. So I think that's a different conversation than what you're talking about a traffic officer.
Well, what I want to do is get a resolution done and make sure there's an agreement between the PBA and the town board, so we don't have what happened with this kid going to the academy, being left wide open. So the hours are going to be different. In their contract, they work 6 hours, 12 to 6, et cetera. We might need to have somebody working from 4 to 10. So those things need to be negotiated.
So it's not
Whereas
something
when we
you can
hire a
do.
traffic cop in the
Right.
budget, he hires someone, and then we have no leverage, just like we had when this kid went to the school. We really have very limited leverage.
So you wouldn't do it until you had PBA agreement on what the terms would be?
Well, what I would do is I would present it as a resolution that once there's an agreement between the town board and the PBA, then we'll hire the traffic cop. We'll
Okay.
make somebody traffic cop.
Just so you know, I'm opposed to the traffic cop.
That's
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think that part of a police officer's job is to write tickets. And if you get numerous calls about somebody speeding or whatever, part of their tour should be that the sergeant assigns them to sit at that spot and write tickets. And if they get a complaint, they go out on the road and they do something else. So I don't think we need to hire somebody specifically for that. That's my input.
What are your thoughts, Carmine?
I'm okay with it.
You okay with it, John?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that'll be one position I add to the budget. All right, so is it okay if I do that resolution, like we have an agreement with the PBA and the town board, what their hours are going to be and stuff like that?
Right, and.
You understand what I'm saying? This
I
way-
do, I do. And, you know, there is a car waiting for this individual, whoever it is. There's a car that's already surplus with a new engine, from what I understand with discussions with the chief, so. I
Okay.
talk to him more than you do.
It sounds like micromanaging.
Yeah, total
No,
micromanaging.
I asked
At
him
least we'll
what,
get this
I
done in motion.
I asked him
Sounds
what's
like-
going on, man.
Well, it sounds like we're not.
I just don't want to get down the road and go, oh,
well,
electric
All right, so
vehicle,
Greg,
we're not doing
I
electric
would
vehicle.
like him a lot.
Madam Clerk, number 28, move to the first meeting. And Greg, we'll work on a resolution, and we'll defer to, we'll ask the chief what his recommendations for the hours. What are the hours, what are the particulars he would like for the traffic cop? What hours do you think are most flexible for him to use? It'd be a very good tool for
Wouldn't it be
him.
when you actually need it? Wouldn't it be when the complaints of the traffic situations are occurring, if they're early in the morning, if they're after work? So it wouldn't be flexible for the cops' sake, but for whenever you actually have the complaints.
It'll be at the chief's discretion, per hours, or whatever. It could be a 6-hour tour, maybe he uses them in the afternoon, maybe he uses them in the evening, I don't know, it'll be up to him. But I want that done before we hire him, because I know what's gonna happen. The PBA will take him, and, you didn't do anything, too bad, and now there's just an extra cop. That's exactly what's gonna happen, just like with the school,
Right.
academy.
I agree.
All right, so Greg will work with the chief. Greg?
Sorry.
Shut that phone off.
So the traffic officer, and we'll refer to the chief
Yes.
about hours
Scheduling.
and scheduling. We'll send it to him tomorrow.
Got that here.
Next up is a discussion of take-home car policy for the police department, for the lieutenants,
I understand that Julie has that now. She's working on something, you know,
So
specific.
why is it that they're involved in speaking with the labor attorney when you don't know about it? Because you already spoke to her.
I'm not talking to her, that's what I heard.
And, well,
Well, the
what
deal-
you heard that's why she told us we needed the form. She was the one that said to the supervisor, they need to sign the form. So I'm just wondering.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
It was our labor attorney that told the supervisor that they need to have this form and sign it from the IRS. I don't think, it wasn't the supervisor's idea. So to have any more discussion with her is kind of redundant, since she's the one that brought it up to begin with.
Well, maybe you remember the fact that the lieutenants don't want to sign the form.
Well, then they don't get a
Because
car.
they didn't like the form, and so they don't get a car.
It's
But
not about liking,
if
it's an IRS form.
There is some tweaking that they're trying to provide us, and let's just take a look at it, that's all.
There should be no tweaking. It's a form from the IRS that you have to fill out if you have a car that you're using from your job. So I don't really see what any other questions or tweaking would be.
I'd like to table it.
Well, I can tell you, I spoke to the East Fishkill police chief this week, and I asked them specifically if their lieutenants have take-home cars, and if there's a policy for that, and the lieutenants don't sign anything in the town of East Fishkill.
Ooh, they're going to get audited by the new
So-
IRS when they come.
You know what? I mean, for a very, very,
Yeah.
very long time,
Millions are coming.
our lieutenants didn't have to sign any form.
Well, they must have a different labor
And
attorney.
then the former town board took the cars away from them, and now all of a sudden, we have to have a form signed.
The take-home cars were given as a benefit to the prior lieutenants when they were making
It's a
30.
benefit for the town.
No, it's not.
No,
Yes,
no,
it
no.
is.
No, it's
Well,
not.
hold on, you said it was taken away. The cops were making $30,000 a year. The state raised their exemptions to $35,000 a year. So that was a big difference. You're talking gasoline is $5 a gallon, we're gonna have to pay for their tolls, we're gonna have to pay for their insurance, and I've been supervisor, this is my 3rd year,
Easy pass.
and I've seen only 2 times that a lieutenant would be needed to come out. That's it. And we're going to give cars
All
to
it takes is
3 of
one.
them. Well, and you know what? If you want to give one lieutenant the car, I might consider that, but you want to give all 3 the cars. So you're talking a massive benefit to someone where people are struggling to pay their bills, struggling to pay their gas bills, and to give these guys free cars to take home, and not even any accountability. No paperwork, no nothing, voila.
Supervisor, I think we also discussed.
It worked for a very long time here.
It's now open, so as I was saying, Supervisor, I think we previously discussed, like you said, they had the cars, they were taken away, they were going to go into the PBA, the lieutenants, they decided they did not want to go in the PBA, then it was a discussion among ourselves, and for myself, it's a is it a necessity or not? So I thought, really, there should be one lieutenant's car for somebody who is on call that week or whatever to take the car home if they have to go out to a call. That was my personal opinion, that it should really be for work purposes. But then we all agreed that it would be a perk so they could get it to go home. But if this is what the labor attorney says, I don't see how we go around not letting them fill out the form.
I have one question. Is there any other employees that take vehicles home, and do they have the same waiver that they sign? If you tell me no, there's an issue.
The assessor does, I think.
The assessor's a
Yeah, the assessor
contract. Assessor's a contract with the Wappingers, town of Wappingers.
Nobody else has a vehicle?
Well, the highway superintendent.
No, he's elected. Nobody else?
So all we're,
Okay.
you going to go next?
No.
So all we're talking about is, I don't look at it as a perk. If they drive it from the police department to their house and it stays there, and then they come back, we don't know, we just had a discussion on emergency plans. We don't know what goes on in this world these days. So it's just a matter of them being ready in case there is something. The car is already insured. Yes, it might be a couple of dollars for gas, all right, and a toll, but it's just a level of being ready. That's all. That's where I'm coming from, and I think it's a prudent thing in this day and time to allow that. Now, all we're talking about right now is not them not signing a form. All we're talking about is waiting to see, they were disturbed with something. I want to give them the professional courtesy to see what they come back with. What it is we can discuss, and then let it happen then. That's all. I just want to wait. Why is that a problem?
Why, what took them so long to decide they had a problem? I thought the supervisor said a long time ago that they could have the cars, and then they had to sign the form.
Let's review what happened.
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
board decided to give them the cars in May. The labor attorney said they got to fill out this form. I gave it to the chief. Then, a few months later, a board member asked me, how come they don't have the cars? So I explained to them why they didn't have the cars, because the police department didn't act on it. And now there's a resolution, and it gives the power to the chief to decide who gets cars, but they have to do with the following, and they have to fill out that form. I don't see what the big holdup is on this.
All we're doing is asking, just wait.
No, we certainly can, gentlemen, we certainly can table it. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, let's just see.
What are we tabling it for? What are you looking for, Brian, why are we tabling it for?
Listen, I'm not making this up.
I can't hear you.
This is coming, I'm not making this up. This is coming from their side. They have a concern. They want to tweak it. Let's just give them the courtesy and see what it is.
What is the concern?
When it comes back, we'll know. I don't know.
Here's the form. Ladies and gentlemen watching, this is the form that they have to fill out. Acknowledgement, assignment of town vehicles for take-home purposes, name, title, date, vehicle description, VIN, address where vehicle will be housed at. By affixing my signature below, I acknowledge and agree to the following. I have been provided a take-home vehicle for the purpose of commuting to and from work and for work-related travel. 2, I understand that the use of this take-home vehicle for personal reasons beyond incidental personal use is expressly prohibited. I have read and understand the town's vehicle use policy. I have abided by the town's vehicle and use policy at all times. I understand that the failure to comply with the policy may be give rise to disciplinary consequences, which may range from a letter of reprimand to termination from employment and/or discontinuation of benefit of take-home vehicle. I understand that it is my responsibility to notify Human Resources in the event if any information set forth above and change, including the assignment of a different vehicle. If they go back and home from work, they have no problem. If they use the car for personal business and they get in an accident, they're going to be held accountable, unless you guys don't want to hold them accountable.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question. That's an unnecessary remark.
What remark?
What remark?
Because everybody's going to be held accountable.
I have a question.
That's just totally
Wait, what was the
unnecessary.
remark that was unnecessary?
What's that?
What was the remark that was unnecessary? I didn't
don't know.
Unless
understand
we
it.
don't want to hold them accountable. Who is saying that?
Are you really serious that accountability in this police department? Is that a serious question?
Are you implying that there is zero accountability in our police department? Is that what you're telling everybody tonight? Ladies and gentlemen, the supervisor just said there's zero accountability in our police department.
Brian.
I find that hard to believe.
Did I say
If they
that?
want the cars, they should sign the form that a labor law said needs to be signed per the IRS. If they don't want to sign the form, and they were to have the car, then they're taking the chance of being audited, but we shouldn't give them a car because then it's liability on the town. I don't really understand what the big holdup is.
right,
And
I have a
actually,
question
having 3 cars for the lieutenants, the way you said, they might have to all, I would say the probability of 3 lieutenants having to respond to a scene in this town is very slim. So if there's 1 lieutenant on call that has to go out, then that would be the one that would really have the necessity. But I agreed, like you all did, to give all 3 of them the car as a perk since they're not in the PBA.
Okay.
But if they don't want to sign it, then they don't get it. It's pretty simple.
All right, so my question is, why is there a resolution on this? The lieutenants don't have the cars now. Why are we even, I mean, discussion's one thing, but why is there a resolution on this?
Because a councilman contacted me complaining that they don't have, why do they not have the take-home cars?
Okay.
I contacted the chief multiple times.
Yep.
He did not respond back to me.
But
So
why is
this
there a
this
resolution?
this-
They don't even have the cars. I don't understand
this
why
is the
are
only
we
way-
asking them to
this is
sign
the-
something.
This is the only way to get this done.
Okay.
A councilman brought it to my attention.
Okay.
I'm acting on
You
it.
got the answer. Now, if they come back to us and say they want the cars, then we act and do what we have to do.
They want the
Well,
cars.
like, why is there a
They want the cars.
resolution? I don't understand.
Board
member asked it.
for my last word, all I have ever said this evening is I'm giving them the professional courtesy because they wanted a tweak. That's all I've said.
What is
I
the
mean,
tweak?
that's what I want to do, is just wait and see what they're doing, so we can look at it. That's all. That is it. Why is
What
that a
is the
problem?
How long would you like to wait, Brian? You tell me.
Hold on.
What's a good day?
Next meeting, we should, if we don't have it by then, forget it.
Well, this resolution is designed for the chief to make that determination, not to come back to the town board. So when he has a lieutenant, he can do it on his own, not coming back to us, when he hires a new lieutenant or promotes somebody.
Is
to do
there a
this.
different, see, I don't know this, is there a different car policy for the police department that there is for the town? Are there 2 different, because
They should
I
be the
don't
same.
know,
Well,
is there?
Listen,
Because the cops do different things than town
Yes.
employees, you know?
And they're the only union too in the town, except for the administrators.
So, I'm hearing both sides. I understand both sides. Supervisor, you have valid points. Brian, I understand your points. I think we wait 1 more month. The forms are not unreasonable. The supervisor read them. I just want to see what the PBA, or not the PBA, but the chief and the lieutenants want to change. If it's something, a little tweak, I don't know what it is, but it's not unreasonable. Something else that I think we set a precedent with cars. Don't forget, we have other emergency response people here in the town, and that's our highway. So that's something else that you need to look at. If they need to go out, why not have our foremen have an opportunity to have a vehicle? So that's something you need to think about, too.
Well, they have to go out on emergency response.
I'm okay to give those
The police,
people
I was
vehicles.
only giving it to, I only wanted to give it to the one that went out.
All right, so we'll table this to, what's the next town board meeting?
September 7th.
September 7th, Brian, September 7th, okay?
Yes, sir. Again, it's just to hear what they come back with, that's all.
So, we'll, Greg, write a letter to the, listen to me.
Yes, sir.
Write a letter to the chief and saying what would he like to see in this, just this acknowledgement paper.
Got it.
What tweaks would he like to see? And then I'll talk to Julie Shaw about it.
And let's get it done, let's get it over with.
And the way it's set up is, they don't have to come back and forth every time they want to get the car.
Right.
It'll be up to the chief to make the decision.
Right.
Simple.
Right.
All right, good. So that's tabled, the resolution tabled. Items for special consideration, there are none. New and old business, Brian?
Wait.
What?
Adopt consent.
Consent? Oh, geez.
And
Where
privilege
the hell
of
is
the
it?
floor.
Oh, I've skipped this whole
you
page.
skipped a whole bunch of mess.
Yeah.
All right, privilege of the floor for agenda items. Anybody wishes to speak about the agenda? You? Hearing none, we'll close that. Second up is the resolution for the consent agenda. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Carmine, all in favor?
Wait, Becky's catching up.
Sorry.
Oh, too fast?
Okay, go ahead.
I'll present the consent agenda as a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Carmine, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up, items for special consideration. There are none. New and old business. Brian?
No, I'm just excited. See, this is the thing about governing. You can have a heated debate with somebody, but you can also turn around, get over it, and work on a great project together. And we work on a lot of good things together. One is going to be a tribute to the George Washington sword, which we're going to talk about with this man right here, the new historian, at a particular point. That's all I got right now.
John?
No.
Carmine?
I'm good.
Louise?
I have a few things. For new business, I just wanted to bring up a discussion at the next meeting to speak about the agreement with the labor attorney and the PBA that we were supposed to already have created and signed.
What agreement?
The agreement for the person that was just hired at the...
The academy thing?
Yeah, the academy thing.
Greg, put it on the agenda for the next meeting. How do you want to read it?
I mean, it's a discussion of the status of it and the
Status
wording
of-
of it and if it's signed, because...
Status of police academy contract?
It's an agreement for reimbursement.
Status of police academy reimbursement.
Especially since after that was all agreed upon, the chief sent the board an email stating that now he found a law that says that they don't have to pay it back, which we need to look into.
I think it was that they found they didn't have to pay the hours work back, but I think it's the educational piece, I think, that they would have to pay back. That would be prorated, I think.
They were, you all agreed that he would pay it back at a prorated rate that the labor attorney was going to agree with to the PBA attorney. And then after the meeting, we got an email from the chief saying that he found some law that stated that the next agency who hired him would have to pay back the academy, which was not what was agreed to. And if that was the case, it should have been presented to the board previously. It's a little deceitful, I think, to wait until after you guys say yes to then present that. But we have to check, because if he goes on to the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, the state police, they're not going to pay it back.
Nope.
So we have to make sure that the agreement states what was verbally agreed to, that he will pay the town back if he leaves within 3 years, whatever those increment steps are.
Right.
Okay, Greg, do that.
Yeah, Councilman, can you either send me the language or see me on that, and we can create the discussion as you like it?
Yep. I have for new business, Ann was here, she spoke about the stray help, we're all very happy that it's working out for her. I think it was minimal amount of money that we gave her. I'm not sure where it came from, which fund, but when we do the budget, I'm just requesting that we make that happen again next year, and so that we can do that. I don't know if that has to be a discussion or not.
You're talking
It's
about...
just so when we do the budget for next year, it was only like $500 or something like that. So to make it for the next year as well as this year. Is that a discussion, or is that something, can you just do that, Sharon? Okay.
Okay.
Sharon gave me the nod.
Sharon took the
New business, also, Becky, if you quickly want to remind people about the tax bills.
Yes, I just want to remind everybody who's listening, please, the school taxes are coming out. If you pay Wappinger Central School District taxes, please look at who you make the check out to. They must be made out to Catherine Bonetta, receiver of taxes, not me. I'm no longer the tax receiver. If they're made out incorrectly, we cannot process them by law.
That's our website.
They will have to be
eGov.
sent back. We've already requested, the tax receivers requested eGov, website, social media. Greg's taking care of all that. It's not on the website yet, I don't believe.
No, not yet, but that was something we were going to do before the end of the month.
It needs to be done now, and it needs to be done weekly. The more people we reach, the more people we remind, the less hassle it's going to be for our residents. It needs to happen now, please.
On the tax bill, does it say who to make the check out to?
Yes, but they don't read it.
They just know she's the clerk.
They just know me.
And it's the first time they've ever used that.
Yeah, this is never, no,
Eagle
that's
every
not true.
Friday.
When Darlene first left and I was elected and took over, I bet you a good third of the tax checks had to be returned because they were made out to Darlene.
Yeah.
And you have to make them out to the receiver. And I know the residents don't understand why, but the tax receiver is a bonded person to accept the money. They in turn have to write the check to where the money goes.
Oh.
It has to be made out to the tax receiver.
I'm glad you said that, because I saw a question out there like, why do I make it out to her? But that's the answer. Good.
Becky?
Yes, I explained, and Councilmember Isfan and I had a conversation about it.
Escrow, we have problems with some of the mortgage companies sending the wrong...
Escrow?
Yeah, someone has their mortgage company...
Yes, but it's printed on the tax bills, and the tax service organizations get the file, and it tells them. So if they mess it up, it still goes back. And if the payment doesn't come back on time, we are obligated by New York State real property tax law to charge that penalty, and we cannot waive it. It's against the law. please understand. We're just trying to help you. Please.
Okay, when's the next town
Well,
board
the
meeting?
last time we have executive
November
session.
7th.
We have an executive session for,
The next town board meeting is September 7th. I'll make a motion to leave the regular course of business to go into executive session.
there are personnel matters and
For a
le-
personnel
le-
matter.
and legal advice.
What's that?
Is the lawyer here, the legal
He'll be here,
advice?
yeah. Okay, so we're going to go into executive session for a personnel matter. There'll be no
Matters.
action taken when we come out of it.
Matters.
I'll make a motion to leave the regular meeting to go into executive session. Can I get a second?
Second.
Daniele, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. See you on the 7th.
It is 9:05 PM.
Final.